If you are learning kanji by either writing them, memorizing them, or just simply learning them traditionally, period, you're doing it the wrong way. Have I gotten your attention yet? Good. Aight. And before you come at me with pitchforks, let me explain myself. Hi, I'm Jem. This is Jem's View, and today, let's talk kanji. What is kanji? I'm assuming that if you've clicked on this video, then you already know what kanji is. But if you don't, well, Google is your sensei. Let's move on. First, I'm gonna give you a definition of what learning kanji means in this video. Then we're gonna talk about why learning kanji the traditional way is a waste of time. Just to give you a background for the parts afterwards, I'm gonna talk about how I learned kanji throughout my Japanese study, and then we're gonna talk about what you can actually do to learn how to read Japanese at an N2, N1 level. Let's go. When I say you've learned kanji, I mean that you can easily recall the meaning of that kanji and its commonly used readings. Take this word, for example. I'm not a master of pitch accents, but this is yuzai. This means guilty. The first kanji is pronounced yu, which means to have. The second kanji means zai, which means guilt or sin. Put them together and you have yuzai. But here's the thing, kanji is not limited to how it's read individually. What if you come across a word like shinise, which means a long-standing or a very old store or shop? This kanji means old, and this kanji means shop or store. Makes sense, right? I don't want to get too technical too early in this video, but if you've been studying Japanese, you'd know that none of these kanji's individual pronunciations are actually in this word, which is why studying kanji the traditional way is an absolute waste of time. Rewriting kanji, using flashcards to memorize kanji, using SRS or spaced repetition systems, any other way that you study kanji, these are all methods that require you to sacrifice a huge amount of time for so little in return. Japanese people spend their primary and secondary education studying the 2,500 kanji that they use daily. That's 12 years of studying kanji. And even after 12 years of studying kanji, I witnessed a Japanese teacher in her class ask her students how to write a kanji that they're learning because she forgot how to write it. She was literally like, yaba, wasureteどうやって書くんやっけ? ねえ、どうやって書くの? After a while, we're going to forget how to write some of these kanji. And there are going to be a lot of kanji that we're going to forget. And
ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay, by now you're probably thinking that I hate kanji. I actually don't. I like kanji, but this isn't how I study it. So I'm gonna tell you how I learned all the kanji required to pass the JLPT N2 in under 2 years. Okay, I'd like to make this point very clear before I move on to the next parts. There is no wrong way to study kanji. There is an inefficient way and an efficient way. The way can be inefficient or efficient depending on your goal, which is why your goal is very important. You have to make your goal clear. If your goal is learning how to write and learn the stroke order of each kanji, then obviously this isn't your video. You can just keep on learning the traditional way. That's fine. You're on the right path, boo-boo. But, big but, if your goal is to learn how to read in Japanese, then just continue watching this video or listening or however you're consuming this video. Yeah? Alright. Okay, whew, I'm gonna eat this cookie. I've been shooting for a while. I need a break. Nobody's a sponsor. Actually, my neighbor. My neighbor gave me this cookie. And she's probably gonna hate me after today because I'm really loud. And I've been shooting for a long while. And I'm loud. I'm sorry for being loud. No kidding though. She's a new neighbor. I gotta apologize to her. Okay, where were we? Kanji is very important for reaching fluency in Japanese. To be really honest with you though, I can't write kanji.
Bruh.
At least past the 1st grade level. Anything over 2nd grade level and I can't write kanji to save my life. Yeah, I said it. Y'all should see me in like City Hall or the bank trying to write my address. It's a sad story.
Oh, boo-hoo.
I started studying Japanese in the fall of 2016 and I got my JLPT N2 on January of 2020. I have studied kanji traditionally in the past. when my Japanese teacher told me to. Only doing the bare minimum to get passing marks for a kanji test, I studied the meanings and stroke orders for kanji in a unit and then forgot it after the test had finished.
What?
When I decided to take the JLPT N2 test, it was September of 2018 and I was around N4 pushing N3 level. The test was on December of that year.
Bruh.
So I did what any sane person would do 3 months before a high-level Japanese test and ignored the kanji. And I failed. But I realized something important after that first test. I knew enough grammar and vocabulary to pass the test, and my listening was good considering that was the only section that I got passing marks on because I didn't really have to read much. Speaking wasn't an issue since after I finished that first test, I was able to get my thoughts across to a Japanese speaker in Japanese. But there was still this big wall of kanji that's keeping me from not only passing the test, but also keeping me from freely reading native Japanese materials without furigana or translation crutches. So after receiving my failed results for the 2018 test, I decided to try the test one more time the next year, which is on December 2019, and I ignored the kanji again.
What the fuck?
But I passed. How? Let's do a little exercise. When you look at this picture, what do you see? Now we can obviously tell that this is green and it's rough, but that's basically it. Zoom out a little. What do you see now? You can kind of tell what it is, but it can still be anything. Now, let's zoom out a little bit more. Now we know that it's a tree, but where is it? What kind of tree is it? How big is it? Now let's zoom out to see the whole picture. Now, we can see all the details that we need to see. Kanji is a pictogram, which is a form of writing that uses pictures or symbols to show their meanings. Take this for example. This kanji means day. You can kind of see it. It's the sun. And this kanji, this means person. Look at its 2 legs. And this kanji means fire. You can see that it looks like fire. Kanji are a bunch of pictures and symbols that you put together to make words that have meaning, that make sentences that convey ideas, which you tie into other sentences to make a bigger idea or concept. Let me put it in a scientific perspective for you. Dr. Justin Sung, former medical doctor and learning coach, explains learning like this. There are many levels of learning, but basically you can simplify it down to higher order learning and lower order learning. Lower order learning is viewing any piece of information in isolation. Most of us are familiar with lower order learning because majority of us were taught how to learn using lower order learning methods. Try saying that 3 times. Lower order learning methods include studying with flashcards, rewriting notes, explaining concepts to other people, and even writing the main ideas of summaries of a topic. Lower order learning methods are just more common than higher order learning methods because they're just much easier. The more you view a piece of information in relationships and deep processing it, meaning connecting pieces of information together and viewing them in different angles, then we get to higher order learning. It's getting dark. Now basically you've got the gist of what kinds of learning are there. If you want to know more information about this kind of learning stuff, then I'll link Justin's channel down in the description. I'm also going to link another article about levels of learning down in the description, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. Let's go back to kanji. So in preparation for my second N2 exam, I was thinking, there has to be a way to cut down the time to learn all of this kanji. So I went to the JLPT website and looked up the ideal qualities of an N2 certificate holder. Look at this. There's no kanji section. There's only a reading and a listening. The reading section is basically saying you should be able to read things like commentaries, articles, and understand them. So now I'm thinking, well, what do you need to pass? You need to learn how to read. What do you need to read? You don't need kanji specifically, you need vocabulary. There are about 10,000 words in the Japanese language. In order to read the newspaper and function in daily Japanese life, you're gonna need about 6,000 words. So then I think, okay, I need to learn vocabulary. But I can't learn every single vocabulary in the Japanese language. I have limited time, and I just want to pass the N2. So looking at the N2 standards, I need to know how to function in daily life, and I need to learn how to read a variety of things. So my next mission was to learn as much of the 6,000 most common words in Japanese before the test. I thought about using Anki to find flashcards for those words, but I have my own learning quirks and your girl isn't gonna make her own deck of cards. That takes too much time. So I found this. Not a sponsor, but if you've gotten something from this video so far and you want to support your girl, you can subscribe to see more content like this or boop the like button for the algorithm. So I tried to memorize as much of the 6,000 most common words in Japanese as much as possible before the test. But Jam, you said earlier that memorizing was lower order learning and that you shouldn't do that. Okay, let me explain. You can do lower order learning after you have done some higher order learning. It's in this thing called reverse Bloom's taxonomy. But we're not talking about that today. If you want to know about reverse Bloom's taxonomy, you can go Google it or go to Justin Sung's channel. So after selling my soul to an iknow.jp subscription, I started learning as many words as I could. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I spent hours, days, weeks trying to clear my 6,000 goal. And here's the thing, the more words I learned, the more I realized that there are patterns and rules. Like, for example, if there's one kanji in the word and the rest is hiragana, then you use the kunyomi, which is the Japanese reading. But if you see words with either 2 or 3 or more kanji, then you usually use the onyomi, which is the Chinese reading. You notice more rules and patterns like this the more you learn words. So just learn words. Seriously, but that's not the only thing that I did. Remember what I said about not studying things in isolation? Well, I did immersion. I read, and I tried to get my hands on as much native material as possible. If you're studying a language, I know you've heard so much about reading. I'm not gonna talk your ear off. What I am gonna say is this. The more you read, the more you learn words, and the more you get a chance to see the words actually being used in practical situations. Immersion is gonna be hard the first time. It is. I know it is. It was hard for me, but just do it.
Do it!
Seriously, don't sweat about the kanji that you don't know. Just keep pushing. Just focus on the things that you do know so that you can piece those together to understand what the author or the writer wants you to get from their writing. It's painful in the beginning, but it's gonna be worth it. My final thought is this. If, after you've watched this whole video and you're still thinking that you can't communicate with Japanese people because you can't write kanji, don't, because you and that Japanese person you're talking to are most likely not going to be using handwritten style communication. Most people rarely handwrite things nowadays. That's why they have Line. That's why they have social media too. They also use computers. So just like us, we don't really write much anymore. Except for things that actually matter, like City Hall and banks. Please change that, Japan. The only thing that you need to write in kanji is your address. And that's if you live in Japan. Learn that. Other than that, you don't need it. That's it, guys. I really hope that this helps you because a lot of people and a lot of my friends ask me how I study kanji. Some of them also get surprised that I don't know how to write the kanji that I can't read. But that's okay, because I can understand most things now. It's not traditional. If you do want to write something, then go ahead and write something. But this is how I learned it the faster way. There will always be consequences for your decisions. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you! Bye!
Used to be each other's best friends, yeah. And now we go our separate pathways, but your heart's still in mine.